Hello, stamping friends. This is Jenny from Celebrate the Journey, and it's Monday. I hope you've remembered that we've switched to a new time on Mondays. Let me see, my phone is chiming, so I'm going to go over and tell it to be quiet. I don't know. I thought I had already turned it down. But that's okay. Now we're ready. So I have an apology to make because we're going to use this card pattern today. And I realized that when I emailed this in my newsletter, it's 2 pages long and I only attached 1 page. So I will redo that the tutorial on this so that you'll have the 2nd page. I kept reading it and I couldn't figure out what was missing, and then I realized it was a whole page of directions. So that happens sometimes. So I made this card a couple weeks ago, and it's called a freestanding card. So it opens up like this, and then it will stand like this. So when it's on your mantle or whatever, you would see something like this when it's standing up. And so it's kind of an interesting fold, and it looks like it's hard, but it's not. So we're going to make one today, but we're not going to make a Valentine. We're going to make something different, but the same concept. Now, on the tutorial that I emailed with the directions, it has, this one has an extra layer. The one I'm doing today doesn't have that extra layer. Whatever you choose to do for your layers, they're just 1/8 of an inch smaller than the original piece. And as card makers, I think we know that. So let's get started, and I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to use some of this Dandy Designs Designer Series paper, and it comes in so many colors. This one would be purple with I think it's like Calypso Coral and purple. I don't know that I would ever mix those colors, but they look good together, don't they? And then the Fresh Freesia on the back. We're going to use this one, and I realized that this is like Coastal Cabana, Balmy Blue, and Pool Party, so you could use any of those colors that you wanted with this. And we're going to use the Silly Goose, because if you look at that card again, you'll see any image that would fit in. This is not quite maybe a 4-inch square. You can switch it out. So you could put the kitty cat with the baskets, you could put the Silly Goose, you could put the Dancing in the Rain people, you could put pretty flowers. Whatever you put on this in about a 4-inch square area, it will work. So you don't have to, as long as if you're thinking about trying it, just kind of keep that in mind, that your image could be a 4-inch square. Hi, Kay. Thanks for joining us today. If you're joining, let me know you're here, and I'll see who's here. Well, let me get this out one more time. This is a lot of paper. It's a lot of pieces. I'm not going to tell you all the measurements for these because they'll be in the tutorial, but I am going to show you how we score the pieces, and because I think that's probably the trickiest part. So we're going to start with a 4 1/4 and 5 1/2, just one piece of paper. That's our regular card size. And now we have 4 1/4 by 11. And that's the piece that we're going to score. so you'll see how it works. I need to open this up. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Pam. I'm glad Rosalind got you on the right time zone. So we're gonna put this score this at 2, 3 3/4, 7 1/4, and 9. It's actually you're kind of making a gatefold, I think is maybe what we would call it, but it's folded back. So now we have this as our card base. It peeks out a little wider on the back. So that would be a nice stand-up card as by itself, but we're going to add that second layer to this. We'll put this to the side. Now, like I said, I'm not going to repeat all these measurements for you, because I don't know that you'd remember them. But this is like 4 1/8 by maybe 7/8. And this is 4 by 3/4. So we're going to layer those together. If you printed the tutorial, you have this part, you just don't have the second page. But sometimes we just forget what we're doing. So we're going to have one of these on each side. This paper has a tiny dot of green, so you could put in a little green with it too. Green polka dot. Then we're going to put this right here on both ends. That's our card base. Sorry, kind of quiet here. I don't have anybody to talk to. Hi, Rosalind. It's good to see you. I'm glad you made it. Now this piece is going to go here. You don't need one on this side because you're going to cover that up. Over just a tiny bit. I'm glad that glue gave me some grace, and now we'll adhere that. This does seem like a lot of pieces, but if you're going to make several, you can cut all the pieces at one time. Hopefully. And now our front piece is 4 1/8 by 4, I believe. And then we're going to, let's see, we have that with Balmy Blue, and then we're going to layer the Coastal Cabana on there. you do, this almost looks like a square, but it's not quite. So if your pattern has a direction, you want to make sure you've got the 4 1/8 is the tall size. It's the same size as a card base. And then so you have to pay attention here, as to where that gets adhered. It's a little, that's the only part. I suppose you could make it 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, but I don't know. It wasn't the directions I used, so I don't want to change things up. This doesn't look quite even, but it's going to be okay. And we're going to put this to the side because we want to put a ribbon on it. And we can't put the ribbon on it, and we have to put the ribbon on before we put everything together. So now we're going to do a little bit of stamping. But I need a piece of paper for that. Did not have a piece out for my little goose. My silly goose. I think that will be enough. And the great thing about these is you don't have to color very much. Most geese are white or maybe a light gray. We don't have to stress over that. So if you don't have a lot of blends, then you'll be able to do this with just a few colors. So of course this little goose is going to a birthday party. So we're going to do a sweet and so saffron. Little web feet. And his beak is light pumpkin pie. Tricia, it is so cold, isn't it? It is 2 degrees today. It was -6 this morning, and it was snowing last time I looked upstairs. So I guess it's probably still snowing. And now his little birthday hat's going to be balmy blue and light Highland heather. Wanted a little different color than all the blues. His little hat can be, everybody's hat can be a different color. And I was surprised when I was looking here. Well, I guess I could have done a Bermuda Bay, but the light shaded spruce actually looks pretty for the balloon. So that's what we're going to use. I know, I'm ready for spring myself. Even though I do love snow, so I can't complain. It's not quite the cold that we're experiencing. We'll put it darker on one side and give a little light in the middle of our balloon. See, that was pretty quick for cutting. Now we're going coloring. We're going to cut him out with the oval. We'll run that through the cut and emboss machine. This is the framed florets oval. So glad to have ovals back in our life. But you could do a circle or a square, depending on what image you are using. Or you could use one of those fancy labels, like from Seasonal Labels. So there's our oval. But, you know, this gets a frame pops out with this. We'll save it for another time. And we're going to put a sparkly frame on our little goose. We're going to use the In Color Tahitian Tide glimmer paper. I think it looks really pretty with that. We'll run that through, and we'll end up with a nice little sparkly oval we can use for another project. And we'll save that for not let that go to waste. Now, isn't that cute? So we'll see if we can't now put this together. So we're going to take a piece of ribbon. This is the Balmy Blue ombre or shaded ribbon. I'm not sure what they call it. Balmy Blue stripe. And we're just going to tie it in a knot. This is some I had left over from a Valentine's class, so glad I could use it. Trim that down. We don't need long tails. And so let's see. Maybe we'll move that up just a little bit. Now we're ready to put our little goose in our frame. We're going to do the frame first. This is so sparkly. Yeah, it usually doesn't snow when it's this cold. You're right, Trisha, but it was pouring down about 30 minutes ago. I don't know what was happening. A little fluke. I think it does better snow when it's about 30. All right, so now we can put our little goose in there. Now you could put him on with dimensionals, but I'm letting him be flat today. Now we're ready to put our card together. So this, remember, we've got this piece, and then we've got our base. So we need to adhere this to that base. So the best thing is to ink. Put your glue, your tear and tape, whatever you're using on this part. You want, if it's easier if you hold it together, hold your layers so that you can see where you're putting this. Especially if you're using tear and tape, because you can't move that. You just want to make sure you're lined up there. Now your little card will open up and it'll stand up nicely. So now we need to add our little goose on here. And we're going to put that right about there. Let's see if I've got that right. So you don't put your glue here, put your glue here. Yeah. And you're going to center it. There we go. That's why it's kind of good to have the Tombow, that you can move it. Now it will open up like that and stand up nicely. We need a sentiment. So we're going to do a Silly Goose told me it was your birthday. That's part of this set. And I love that. There we go. While we've got the ink out, we'll do the inside. This is 4 by 3 1/4. And it says, sending gaggles of good wishes. I don't know why I'm not pushing level today. That happens. That's better. I love that paper has 2 sides. And now we'll cut this out with a die. This is from Seasonal Celebrations, Seasonal Labels. I hope that one hangs around a little longer, because it's good sized dies. And we'll put this on with some dimensionals. Actually, I used, let's see, I used an edge piece. I try to use those for long labels. Keeps them nice and stable. So see, even once you get all the pieces cut out, this card is not hard to do. It's just lots and lots of pieces, depending on how many layers you do. And then this goes on the inside. Oh, I'm glad my fingers had ink on them. Yuck. Hope that's not going to, no, that's not going to show. Now we need a little, we've got some sparkle here, but we're going to add a little more sparkle. Some bling, and I thought we'd use these iridescent jewels. I think that's what they're called, iridescent rhinestones. We want medium size, and then the small, and another medium we'll put down here. Whoop. Look at that grabbing on there. So that's a freestanding card. Like I said, that's what people will see when it's on their dresser. Or look at that. We'll fix that little smudge. At least it's not very dark. So there we go. Guess I better wash my hands. So here's the one that's a goose. And here's the one that's a Valentine. You see, it has more layers, but I decided that 2 layers was enough on this one. I didn't need all that. So we have 2 freestanding cards. And I like that they can stand up and you can admire them and enjoy seeing them. So thanks for joining me today, and I will see you soon. Bye.